How did the people of the mysterious 4,700-year-old Indus Valley cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro think about the massive land they lived in? They build magnificent lives along powerful rivers, right? But how does a giant, diverse subcontinent, literally walled off by the world's tallest snowy mountains and surrounded by vast oceans, actually settle on a single identity? Well, today we are cracking a 5,000-year-old geographical and linguistic mystery.
Seriously, think about it for a second. How did this huge land of rivers and mountains actually get its name? Now, for your exams, you're used to seeing a modern map with strictly defined borders, recognized states, and a specific population. But thousands of years ago, it was completely different. Boundaries were constantly shifting. And yet, despite all that change, ancient texts, foreign travelers, and royal inscriptions all tried to pin down this vast region with a specific name. So let's play detective and trace exactly how these names evolved.
Our starting point is the physical geography itself, the immense natural boundaries of the subcontinent. To the north, you've got this massive, formidable wall of the Himalayas. And surrounding the entire southern peninsula, there are the vast, sweeping expanses of the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. These natural borders basically created a distinct geographic unit, practically a world unto itself. But imagine standing right in the middle of this huge land thousands of years ago. What would you call it?
Section 1. Looking Inward. Names by Ancient Inhabitants. Okay, our first major clue comes from India's most ancient text, the Rigveda, which dates back several thousand years. In it, the northwest region is called Sapta Sindhava, which beautifully translates to the land of the seven rivers. The really crucial root word to remember here is Sindhava. That comes from Sindhu, which was the specific ancient name for the mighty Indus River, though it was also used just to mean a river in general. So the earliest inhabitants were defining their home by its absolute most vital, life-giving feature, flowing water. Moving forward in time, we start to see a growing awareness of just how massive this subcontinent really is. The Mahabharata, which you probably know is one of India's most famous epic texts, written from a few centuries BCE onward, actually lists an incredible array of specific regions. We're talking names that sound super familiar today. Kashmira in the north, stretching all the way down to Kerala in the south, and Vanga, or Bengal, in the east. This completely proves that long before modern mapmaking or satellites, ancient Indians had a highly accurate understanding of their vast geographic footprint. But when did a single name emerge for the whole entire region? For that, we turn to an ancient text called the Vishnu Purana. It gives us this deeply poetic yet incredibly accurate geographic definition. The country that lies north of the ocean and south of the snowy mountains is called Bharata. Remember those natural boundaries we just talked about? This ancient verse describes those exact borders, the Himalayas and the seas, and boldly claims everything in between as one unified entity, Bharata.
So, a crucial point for your notes. Where does this word actually come from? Bharatavarsha literally means the country of the Bharatas. Now, Bharata isn't just a random word. It first appears way back in the Rigveda as the name of one of the main Vedic groups of people. And over time, in later literature, several ancient kings actually shared the name Bharata. So what started out as the name of a very specific group of people gradually expanded. It grew to represent the entire subcontinent and all the diverse people living within those snowy mountains and oceans. Definitely remember that progression for your exams.
But Bharata wasn't the only inward-looking name. Let me introduce you to another super fascinating one. Jambudvipa. This wonderfully descriptive term translates to the island of the fruit of the jamun tree. You know, the really common tree native to India. Around 250 BCE, the great emperor Ashoka actually used this exact term, Jambudvipa, in his famous stone inscriptions. And for him, this wasn't just modern-day India. His Jambudvipa was a massive territory that included what is today India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and even parts of Afghanistan.
Section 2. Looking Outward. Names from Foreign Travelers.
Let's trace how this all builds into the name the world mostly uses today. It's actually a fascinating linguistic chain reaction. Step 1. It all starts with that original Sanskrit river name Sindhu. Step 2. In the 6th century BCE, the ancient Persians arrived in the northwest and adapted Sindhu into their own language as Hindu or Hind. Step 3. The ancient Greeks later based their name on those Persian records, but because the Greek language didn't have that initial H sound, they dropped it. So Hindu turned into Indoi or Indica. And finally, step 4. Through Latin, this evolved directly into the word we all know today, India.
Now I want to pause here to clarify something absolutely crucial. In ancient Persian, the word Hindu was a purely geographical term.
It simply meant the people or the land around the Indus River. It was not used by the ancient Persians as a religious identifier at all. It was strictly a way to pinpoint a geographic location on a map.
This brings the whole global perspective together beautifully. You can see that practically every major ancient civilization that interacted with the subcontinent based their name for it on that one mighty river, the Sindhu. The Persians gave us Hind and Hindu, the Greeks gave us Indoi, and even the ancient Chinese, who interacted heavily with Indian scholars and traveled there extensively to collect texts, adapted it into their language as Yintu or Yindu. So, while the internal text looked at the mountains and the oceans, the outside world was entirely focused on that western river frontier.
Section 3. The modern climax, India, that is Bharat.
Okay, fast forward. After centuries of massive empires, constantly shifting borders, and foreign rule, the region finally became a modern, independent republic. To define its identity for the future, the founders had to write a constitution. That's the founding document that spells out the basic principles and laws of the new nation, officially coming into force in 1950. When they sat down to write the very first page of this hugely important document, what name from this 5,000-year history do you think they chose?
Well, they didn't choose just one. Article 1 of the original Constitution opens with this incredibly powerful phrase, India, that is Bharat. And right alongside it, the Hindi version reads, Bharat Arthat India. This brilliantly illustrates the ultimate climax of our detective story. The framers of the Constitution consciously merged the outward, globally recognized name, India, born from the Persians and Greeks, with the deep, inward, ancient name, Bharata, born from the Rigveda and the Puranas. It's a perfect harmony of a 5,000-year-old history preserved in one single modern sentence.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. If you were born 2,000 years ago, standing somewhere between those snowy mountains and the southern oceans, what name would you have chosen for this country and why? Remember, identity is rarely just a word on a map. It's a living, breathing history. Good luck studying for those exams, everyone.